Hey, this is Mike from This Divided World, and this is, I guess, like a guitar exercise warm up. This is a number of years ago when I really started trying to practice. This was one of the things that I did to try and practice. It's a combination of, I mean, you can put it in scales, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like a real melodic thing. It's more just like for practice and for what your fingers and are doing rather than like what it actually sounds like. So there's a few different parts to it. So the first is the idea of like getting everything you can from a scale or whatever. So like for example, this guitar is in drop C sharp. At least that's what I remember it was in. So let's start on the second string, the 5th fret. This will be the minor scale. If you can't see it there, it's 5, 7, 8, and then 5, 7, and then 5, 7. So anyways, so typically we think of scales as like up and down. But the thing is you don't really get, you're not exercising your fingers in like in the same way that you maybe do when you approach notes during solos. There's like a bunch of different techniques that you're doing when you're doing solos, and so I was getting into soloing and stuff, and there's just different techniques. So for example, I'm saying that you want to get more than just. So like let's take that scale. Instead of starting at 5, we're gonna start at 8 and go work backwards. So I mean, in the scale, it's not gonna sound complete, but here, check it out. So we're moving up higher notes on the strings, right? So we're moving from this string to this string to this string, and normally we work up it in notes wise, like how it works in the scale, but try it the other way. So instead of starting with your pointer finger or like whatever finger you would normally do, then you're starting with your pinky. And the other thing is, when we go back the other way, we typically think of it as descending that way. But try it the other way, where you're starting with your pointer finger, but then working back down the thicker gauge string. It feels totally different when you're catching, because your fingers are trained to catch when you do that string skip with your pointer finger, but it's totally different. It'll take a little bit to get used to catch it right on your pinky, because you might get some of that at first because your pinky's not going to be ready. Not going to be ready for it. But anyways, the other part of this is kind of like finger stretching and stuff. So like for example, you can pick whatever place you want for it. Like, so take that same concept, right? So just one scale or whatever, or one position, one shape. So for example, I'm going to do 5, 7, 8. So it's going to look like, and I'm going to use my pointer, my ring, and my pinky, and I'm going to work it all the way up. Okay, and then so typically you would think descending, we're going to start with our pinky. Okay, but now what about the other way, where we start on the high strings and we start with our pointer finger instead? Definitely feels different, because that's not what your fingers are used to doing. It's used to like, right? We work up that way and back. That's typically how we think of it. But it'll definitely like improve your playing. And then the other way, right? So I started high string but with my pointer finger. Now the other way is where you're doing low string to high string but with your pinky. And so those are pretty much all the variations. Basically what I would do is I would practice it like start with my pointer, so working up. Whoops. And then back. how you typically would, and then I'd work it back the other way. And then it's definitely a good exercise. And the other part that I want to show you is when you're doing finger stretching. So let's say, and also learning to use other fingers. So like let's start, let's say at the 5th fret, I guess, or let's move it up to the 8th. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play these two notes, 8 and 9, right? And so the easiest way to play that is probably with your pointer and middle finger. So I'm going to work it all the way up, and then back down, and then do it the opposite way, right? So now I'm going to leave my pointer finger on the 8th, but I'm going to put it to the 10th, so which means I'm going to use my ring finger. So that same pattern all the way up and down, and then all the way back. So and then back the other way, right? It's even strange for me because I'm not used to hitting. When you got your pointer and your ring, you're not used to when you string skip. Like, yeah, you like I'm used to that, but not when you hit that second, when you're string skipping like that. It feels like you're getting caught out of position. So basically the idea, you just keep working it up. So now we're at 11, and then back. It's definitely making my fingers think right now. And then so let's take it to the 12th fret. So it's going to be the exact same exercise, but now I'm really having to stretch my fingers. See if I can do 13. Basically just try and max it out as much as you can. So those are basically the two big concepts. It's really going to change with like string skipping. So when you're soloing or say you're riffing, and you're not used to catching a higher note with maybe your ring finger. So like maybe normally you would try and catch it, maybe move your hand over so you can catch it with your pointer or your middle, but it's gonna really strengthen fingers like your pinky. So like say you're doing hammer-on pull-up, when you're stretching and you're used to going up and down, it's really gonna affect your soloing and like your riffing to really improve and let you it's gonna make your fingers comfortable. There's stuff basically your muscles have memory. And so that's why somebody that like maybe if you're on trampoline you do a front flip or a back flip, like the more you do it, the easier it is, or just different tasks and stuff like that in your daily life. It gets easier the more you do it. So anyways, exact same concept with guitar. And like you don't even have to be on electric or anything in specific. Like you can take that same concept, like something like, for example, like I have a bass guitar. Actually I have two of them. But to maybe take that same concept and practice it on and then when you come back and play it on a guitar, or like if you have like this is on I think 11s, like the gauge of the strings. When you play it on there and you go back and play it on another guitar, it's gonna be way easier. So just like different things. That's probably my number one. I never heard anybody like do or kind of what I'm showing you. This is just my routine and how I practice. I'm not saying that other people don't do it, but I never like learned it from anyone. It was just my concept, and so there it is. That's my guitar exercise warm up.